Hello everybody and welcome to a real quick video about DFHack. Now, I've been a critic of DFHack in the past, especially in the eras of Dwarf Fortress where people referred to it as a necessary tool for playability of the video game. Well, I have some old videos talking about my opinions on DFHack just as a piece of software of the video game. At this point, what I would say is playing with DFHack in Dwarf Fortress is like the equivalent of knowing your way around the command line in a Bethesda game. You might need to unbreak a quest every now and again, which can make it useful. However, it can ruin your gameplay experience by making it way too easy to skip things, or alternatively, poorly learn mechanics because you are using it as a crutch to avoid doing some of the game's tedium. Now, this can benefit some people and make the game a more pleasant experience, and it can make it worse for some other people. There's a lot of talk about DFHack breaking saves and other things, but I think that that's kind of a non-concern at this point. All I will say is if you want to use DFHack or are unfamiliar with what it is a piece of software that runs concurrently with Dwarf Fortress. It is available on Steam. You can download it from Steam, and it just launches when you launch the game automatically in the background. But by default, it has a whole bunch of settings that are on that I'm not a huge fan of. So this isn't the default settings, these are my settings, but this is how I set up DFHack for exactly my use case. Now, if you want to have DFHack and you want to have it running, but you don't want to actively be, seeing it all the time, and you just want it to be off and maybe turn it on occasionally to use an exterminate command to eliminate an enemy, or do a quick save by hitting the tilde on your keyboard and typing in quick save, and then clicking on the quick save and then pressing enter, this is a quick save function, which is very helpful. And maybe you just want this instead of having to open up the escape function and return to the main menu, or save and continue playing, creating a new timeline. Perhaps you just want a quick save. Then all you need to do is go to DFHack and type in disable overlay. So if you want to have DFHack running, but have minimal functionality and it not affecting your game in the slightest, you can have it installed and running in the background of all of your save files by just simply disabling the overlay. Now, I'm going to re-enable the overlay by typing in enable overlay, and we're going to go through the functions that I have on. Now, I do leave the icon up here most of the time, but I do have the majority of the functions disabled. So let's go to the control panel. Now, this is just kind of a selection of things that relate to Fortress mode. We have maintenance, which is some more behind the scenes bug fixy stuff. System, which is essentially like developer tools. We have overlays, which are physical overlays in the game that you see that don't affect the gameplay directly, however, allow you to have some UI functionality without, potentially messing with the game itself. Preferences, those are just like, your settings for DFHack. And then the functions that you want to have running when you start up the game. So DFHack doesn't remember its settings functions, with the exception of the overlays and maintenance settings. However, certain functions do not automatically start when you turn the game on. So you can basically tell it to remember what functions you have running. Let's just say you want Starving Dead, which essentially just makes zombies slowly go away over time instead of just overpopulating the map if there's a ton of zombies, as an example. But we're going to run into maintenance, which is the first area that I have a few things enabled by default. Now, there is quite a neat list of functions here. If you want to dig into them deeper, I recommend just clicking on them. It does give you a little bit of information about what that tool does. Fix empty wheelbarrows, I just use that command every now and again. You can set it so that it auto runs on certain intervals. I just have all these off. But General Strike is one that I do have on, which prevents dwarves from getting stuck and refusing to work. Now, this is a weird one. I've tried playing with it off and playing with it on. I've almost never run into issues of dwarves literally refusing to work after getting stuck before using this. Now, I know there are some instances where dwarves can get stuck when they're in combat. However, I've never really experienced this outside of one bug that was in version 50, which has since been patched. So I don't even know if this is necessary at this point, but I've just left it on out of, caution, essentially. If we go to system, I leave all these off just by default. Hide tutorials is a useful one, which I should probably turn on because I always use that command anyway, but I like to just tell people that command is there so that if they are using DFHack for the first time and they want to turn off all the tutorials, you can do that by simply clicking this button by default. Now, when we dive into here, we have our overlays. So I don't use the auto labor overlay. I don't use building inspector. I do use the mechanisms function, which essentially allows you to select the mechanisms before the item is constructed. So in vanilla right now, it's just use the 2 nearest mechanisms. This lets you pick what specific mechanisms you want. Burrow designation allows for a bunch of expanded burrow tools and functionality, such as flood fill, automatically expanding burrows, and essentially making burrows work the way they should, or the way you think they should in a game like this, making the process of setting them up way easier and less tedious. I highly recommend using the burrow designation function. The next one here is the dimensions UI. Now this is when you're using the dig tool or the build tool or any kind of click and drag thing, it tells you how many squares are in the tool. And it's very simple. I like it. I think it's very helpful. Next up are my favorite functions and probably my most used functions. These are the sort functions. These add different search bars to every single window to allow you to search different things, including interrogation, which as far as I'm concerned makes interrogation useful. A lot of this stuff should have asterisks in it because the next update or update that's coming soon, Putnam has been working on a lot of search functionality, and Tarn was teasing that on the website recently, so I don't know how necessary these tools are going to be in the near or far future, but at least for me, I'm going to be using these until there is a native search function. Once there's a native search function, I'm probably going to disable these, assuming they are at least close to on par with these features in DFHack. So search interrogation, location selector, places, slabs, squad annotation, squad assignment, unit selector, all of these are different windows that you need to be able to search as efficiently as possible. And all of these sort dot function are simply just those search bars, including things like a sort world. Next up, I use the track stop rollers and the track stop, which is a funny command, function, which allows you to change the direction of a track stop without deconstructing it. The dwarves do deconstruct it and then reconstruct it, but it saves you like half a dozen clicks. So I personally do not use any auto butcher or auto chop functions or auto clothing, but let's just run through a real quick highlight list here. If you find the process of making clothes in Dwarf Fortress tedious or slow, if you turn on auto clothing, they will manage all of your clothing work orders for you. So you do not need to actually do anything yourself. The game will simply run all of the clothing orders in the background for you. Same with auto farming, auto butchering, auto chopping, and auto fishing. Although these can sometimes cause some issues if like you have jobs queued up and like just producing too many of an item. However, between that and auto dump, it is not too difficult to get rid of the items that you need to get rid of. When you need to get rid of them, auto slab automatically memorializes your dwarves for you, so you don't need to worry about it. Although I find the search functions to make this a little bit redundant. I do like to know what's being slabbed and when, so I know to build them. And other functions in DFHack, such as misery, which just make everybody really pissed off, which can be a fun kind of challenge playthrough, but not something I particularly like. The last function I use DFHack for quite frequently is the burial command. So if you type in burial and press enter, it'll automatically designate all tombs that you have to dwarves and pets. If you type in burial-c and press enter, it'll automatically assign all tombs to your dwarves, but not pets. So if you, let's just say, placed 20 tombs and don't want to place 20 zones, you just type in burial-c and you're good to go. This has just been a quick video on my settings for DFHack. If this was useful to you or something that you think that you've benefited from in any way, let me know down in the comments section. Also, I would love to know what your preferred functions in DFHack are. Or if you are like I've always been in the past and a very stalwart non-DFHack player, what are some features from DFHack that you would like to see in the vanilla game? For me, more or less, I don't use features that I wouldn't want to see in the vanilla game, and I only use features that I think should be in the vanilla game or I hope end up in the vanilla game. In this case, all of the search functionality. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I really hope I'll see you in the next one.